Okay, so this tutorial is going to cover some of the basic functions in SketchUp so it can enable us to draw the essentially this really simple building form that was outlined in the assignment. So you can see I've downloaded from the web page the simple drawing that you guys are to utilize so that you can actually draw out the space. And it's already given you some dimensions here, and these are on-center dimensions if you look at this. So we have basically a 24-foot space by about a 40-foot space here. All right, and so we can see this is approximately 21 feet tall, and then we can actually start to get into and build out some of the spaces in here. Okay, so I actually have this printed out. Well, I have my hand drawing that I actually used to produce this. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that away. I'm going to use that as a reference. Now I've set up a series of scenes, just like I gave in the instruction, where we can actually start to view through and see what's actually on in here. This is ultimately, I have, you can see, started the production of this, so we can start to take a look at what this is going to be as we go through it. The way that you do this is you're going to go through in the view under animations, you can add a scene. And what that does is that saves that view, and so as we use, like I use the H tool to pan, we can right click on this when we're in that scene and update that, and it'll save it as a scene. They use this for production. I found it a lot more useful when I'm in SketchUp to actually go through and cycle through my views. When I want to check something in plan, when I want to check something in elevations is really a nice function of that. And also it enables you to cycle back and forth between paraline views and perspective views. Okay, so I have this already sort of built out, and you can see this took me about 20 minutes, and I'm obviously not going to spend that much time on this. But there's nothing fancy about this. This is all done with the standard tool set, drawing lines, and then extruding them, okay, and using the inference interface. So I'll go ahead and turn that off, and we're going to go ahead and start fresh. We'll go ahead and set our view to elevation here, and we're going to set our camera to parallel projection. All right, and you can see now we're looking at this in elevation. I'm going to zoom out, and so that I don't double up on the space here, I'm just going to go ahead and draw this. So using the line tool, or L, I'm going to go ahead and start drawing. And if you look at the drawings, the initial part of the construction there is 8 feet tall, so I'm just going to type that in, hit enter. And you can see that if you're paying attention down here, we'll update the second leg of that. Then it's going to start to pitch over for the roof. The roof on center is 12 feet, so I'm going to go ahead and type that in as well. And then it goes up 13 feet tall. Okay. And then I'll go ahead and draw this. And what you can see immediately is, if we zoom in, as soon as we developed that closed loop, it closed that off, and then it also created, we go hit spacebar, a surface in that place. And SketchUp will automatically do that for anything wherever it finds that possible. And that's one of the nicer features about it. Okay, so I'll hit Z so I can zoom in, H so I can pan. And then I'm going to go back to the line. I'm going to start sketching this apart. One of the really nice things is there's no overlapping function. So if I hit 6, this is set to inches, so I'm just going to go 6 inches down. And so it'll never replicate geometry. If something overlaps, it'll just split the existing geometry over that. So then this was, if we look at that, 8 inches wide. So that's our first guy. And we come in. Our column here is 1 inch over. And pull that down. And we'll hit space and then line to reset the tool. That's 1. And we'll pull that down and we'll navigate so that's over. Alright, and we close that off, and then we no longer need that reference line, so we can use that. And that's a lot of what SketchUp is. You end up building scaffolds to start to build out the geometry, and then you use those as reference lines, and then you can either delete those away or you can hide them on different construction layers. So as we go in here, we can we know that the next point in the construction line is right there. If we want to move parallel to this line, we just roll over. As soon as it says on edge, you see that pink highlight. It means that we're running parallel to that. Okay, so we hit that, hit space. Now we no longer need that, so we can zoom out, and that's our guy. And now the drawing itself is actually a mirrored version of this, so we know that we only really need to build this twice, and then we can mirror that geometry. Now in order to do that again, we're going to build a scaffold for that. So from edge to edge, we know that that's 24 feet. Hit space, and now we can see that And just like in AutoCAD, selecting left to right, anything inside the box is selected, selecting right to left. So that dashed line indicates anything touching that is going to be selected. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to copy that, and the way to do that is to move by pressing the M key. I can activate that, or I can use the button up there. And then I select that, and it's immediately going to start to move it. If I want to activate the copy, I hit Control, and then I can go ahead and copy that over to the endpoint. There isn't a mirror function, but in order to do a mirror, what we can do is we can go ahead and sort of trick it into doing that. So I'm going to rotate into an ISO view here. And then what we can do is we can use the scale tool here, grab that, and we can just move that over and snap that across. Alright, and that's really a simple way of producing that section here. Now we can start to look at giving this some depth, but really it's going to be more useful to us if we actually start to look at this in elevation here, to draw all of our extrusions ahead of time, so that we can get that in. So we have this, and we're going to go, we have a 3-inch, we're working on the roof here. It's 3 inches wide by 2 inches. Oops. Sorry. That's 3, 2, and then we'll draw that. So if we hit Z, zoom in, M to move that in there. And then we need to rotate that into place. So we can go ahead and, using the rotation tool, we can go ahead and rotate. We're going to use that as a reference so that I can make sure that that aligns with that geometry. I'm not sure what it grabbed there, but try that again. There you go. Alright, and now we know that that's actually good to go. So then from there we can go ahead and, again, move. Control to turn that into a copy. Move. And snapping to the midpoint there. Nope. Zoom in a little bit. And then move that. And you can see this is where the inference engine might be a problem. If we hit Control, though, it goes to copy. And then we can highlight that, reference that edge there. And we need to build ourselves another scaffold here. So then we can come over here and move that. And again, if we were clever, we would have done this ahead of time, but we can go ahead and just go repeat that. So we go here, here. Sorry. Select all of these. And want to move, Control to copy from there to there. And actually, it's going to cause a problem because it's going to immediately snap to that geometry. So we'll have to come up with a different way of doing that. But here, that's actually enough for us to get into sort of the construction. You guys can repeat that. So again, I'm going to go into sort of isometric view, and then using the push and pull command, I'm going to start to give this depth. So we can start to push that, and we'll say that that's 6. And then we can use our reference edges once we have them. Pull that out. We know that that's 40 feet. 40 feet. We'll use our reference edge. Okay. And that's 6. It's also 6. Oh, wrong direction there. Okay. And so there's a couple things that have happened here. If we look at this, let's Z to zoom in. We can actually see on the interior edge of this, if we use the line tool, As long as we have a closed loop, we can just redraw one of those lines and it'll rebuild that edge. And we'll, again, use the push and pull. 40 feet. 40 feet. Delete that as well. Alright, and you guys are starting to get a sense of how this is going to work here. Our zoom window, line, we can patch this up. Oh, and it looks like we can see the guts of this as well, so I'll patch that up as well. Zoom out, we'll prime. Alright, and so we hand zoom back. Alright, and so now we're going to go ahead and copy these back. So we have these structural components that, the columns and sort of the beams here. Oh, and I'm going to go ahead and just select like this. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and move. Hit Control to copy, and we're going to go ahead and set that at 40 feet. Oops. Oh dear. Move. 40 feet. Oh. Control. Now we're copying that, and we're going to go ahead and make sure we're in the axis alignment here, 40 feet. And then if you immediately after that, we can hit 4 divide, and that'll create an array. Those guys. Okay. And so now when we go and I'm going to create a new view here. I'm going to turn this into perspective. You can see we started to have this geometry here. And I had some extra stuff in here. We can go ahead and delete that. Okay, and that's the basics of how to get this thing constructed.